Hey guys, Jay here, and in this video today I want to share with you guys my top 10 tips for new PoE enjoyers. I do believe there will be a big number of new people who are exposed to PoE as a whole with the release of the early access for Path of Exile 2. In fact, Jonathan Roger, the game director, already said that they are very surprised, that is the word, by the amount of people who actually decided to buy the early access key to join the early access to POE2, because he thought initially, people are probably going to wait for the actual release because this is the free game, so you don't need to even spend money to actually play the game. This is just a early access version. Not all the content is going to be available in this early access. However, with all the things that they are showing us in the live stream, in the reveal, in the trailers, in a lot of places throughout the last year or so, there absolutely is a huge amount of content in this early access. So without further ado, let's try to get to the actual 10 tips that I mentioned earlier. But before that, please give me 1 second. I would like to ask you, if you enjoy this content, if you find it enjoyable or helpful in any way, please consider to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That is the best way that you can support me, support this channel, and keep things going for me. Basically, I really would appreciate it. And now let's get to the actual tips. So first one, follow game direction. Or actually follow the game's recommendation. So in POE1, one of the, I would say, weak point of the game is it's not really new player friendly. So there's not a lot of like tutorial stuff until very recently. Last few years, they do add a little bit of like tutorial for new players and things like that. But before that, we all jump into the game and try to figure things out and try to look up, guides from other people. The game doesn't really do anything for, that's in that end for the player. However, Path of Exile 2 is going to be different. The game is going to be much more friendly toward new player who are new to the genre or new to the game. They are going to give you very good suggestion. They are going to give you some, little like starter gear that is going to drop around the beginning of the game. So you kind of guarantee to have a pretty solid foundation to actually continue to explore the game, to try and, fight certain bosses that is like abundant in the game, and just have a nicer experience overall. And gradually you will learn more about the game that way without having actually spending actually a lot of effort into it. So follow the game's recommendation. They know their stuff. All right. Next, if you want early access, I would suggest you to buy the key now. So the thing is, every single amount of money anyone ever spent in POE1, anything that you purchase in POE1 is going to be translate into POE2 as well. So if you yourself has already decided that POE2 is a game that you want to spend some time on during the early access phase, which is going to be around 6 months or so, I think that is going to be a pretty long time before the actual release of the game. So a lot of people are eager to try out the game and decided to buy the early access. My recommendation is buy the key now. Why? What is the difference? Well, you can spend point already in POE1. So you don't need to play POE1 to spend point in POE1, if that makes sense. You just need to create a level 1 character, go through the first zone, which is a very beginner friendly boss. Just hit it with a stick and it will die, and you get into town, and basically you just get access to the shop that you can purchase things with the points that you get with the key. The key is $30, but it also can be understand as the key is free as well in a sense. So normally GGG sells you for, if you have 300 points in the game, to buy anti-access, to buy skin, cosmetic, stash tabs, you spend $30 for that amount anyway. $30 equal 300 points. But in this case, you buy 300 points and the key for $30. So in a sense, yeah, it is a good deal, right? I would say if you want to spend, if you plan to spend a lot of time in the game, you will need some stash tab anyway. That is the only thing that kind of is necessary for anyone who actually enjoy the game later, because it is just a huge amount of quality of life. So from now until then, there might be a sale period for stash tab. I think they would put a sales period in the weekend before the actual launch of the POE2 early access. So if you have the point by then, you can actually use the point to purchase some stash tab, which is going to be cheaper, right? So up to you, but I think that is going to be a better deal overall. Next up, this is more in-game focused. So in general, except for like weapon, where obviously you want like offensive stat. If you are spell build, you want like spell damage, increased damage. If you are a attack build, you want a weapon that is high damage or things like that. That is very obvious as well. But in this game, in terms of like the other pieces of gear, so you have the body armor, the gloves, the helmet, even the rings, amulet, gloves, shield, even quiver sometimes. Most likely you are going to find these stats on the screen here very valuable and very helpful. So life and resistances are universally available on like most pieces of gear in the game. Movement speed most exclusively are on boots, and in some special cases might be on other pieces, but mostly on boots. So life resistances on any piece of gear is going to be very nice, very valuable. So look out for that when you are doing the campaign, when you are exploring the game. Those are going to be very helpful. And then try to have a pair of movement speed boots as much as possible, really. It's just going to feel better when you move faster, basically. Also in this game, I do believe movement speed becomes even better because you can actually move while you are using your skills. So movement speed becomes like your ability to dodge effectively. So it is going to be even extra important in this game, in POE2. Defense matter. This is the next tip. Why defense matter? Well, in POE1, a little bit of a history here. So in POE1, there was a very long period where everyone except for the hardcore player, which is the very minority, not a lot of people is playing hardcore just comparatively to softcore. So in softcore, the meta is you are going glass cannon and you are going to try to kills everything before it can reach your character. So the best defense is a good offense, right? But lately it's not really the case anymore, even in PoE1. And I do believe in PoE2, with all the mechanic and all the punishment for failing an encounter, your character is dead, you might just lose the progress to that point. For example, if you are fighting a boss, if you die, you will have to fight the boss all over again in the campaign, and then in the end game as well. So the map system, you will learn it later, it doesn't matter right now, but if you die in a map, you basically lose that map and you have to go around. You have to find another way to reach the point on the atlas in the end game, reach the point that you want. It should not be very complicated, but you understand when you see it. If you also lose to a boss in the end game, for example, in this game there will be 3 guardian bosses and 1 big pinnacle boss. If you fail any of those encounter, everything will vanish. You will have to find another one basically, and that's going to take some more time. So you want your character to be tanky. That is going to be very, very nice in PoE2. Next up, wording matter, and skill tag also matter. So I want to talk a little bit about skill tag first. So each skill in the game will have a bunch of tags on it. For example, a skill like Fireball, let's just say, it will have the tag of AoE, so it is an area of effect skill gem. It will have projectile, so it is a projectile because you shoot a projectile fireball, right? It will have a spell, it will have fire. Probably things like that. That is just like a example. So why does those matter? It does help you in making decision on which skill gem goes with which support, basically. So each support gem will also have the matching tags. So if a support gem have a matching tags with the skill gem, chances are they can go together, and you could just try it out. And if you don't like it, then remove it. But anyway, at least that is what it was in POE1, right? In POE2, I'm not entirely sure about this point, but I still want to bring it up. But maybe if they do it a little bit better in POE2, if the two gems, though the skill gem, the active skill gem, and the support gem doesn't work together, you cannot link them together, you cannot just literally put it in a socket. But in POE1, you can still put it in a socket, and if you don't notice, you basically just lose out that socket. It does nothing, and it's just there, right? So be mindful of that. And then wording matter. So the most famous example for this one in PoE is more versus increased. So increased damage is additive, uh, just like in general, it's additive to each other, and then more multiplier is the multiplier on top of each other. So they scale multiplicatively. I believe that is the word, right? So in general, if you are looking for damage, in general, you should have more sources of increase than more damage, and each more damage sources will be more valuable. So that is just one example of a lot of things that you can be that can be unclear in the game. I do hope that they improved it a little bit in PoE2. For example, nearby, how far is nearby really? We kind of need to test out in actual gameplay in PoE1. Hopefully it will be clearer in PoE2. But if you find it confusing, just ask someone. Try look it up. Hey. Next one, just keep it simple and play at your own pace. So why do I want you to keep it simple? PoE is a very bloated game in a sense where it has a lot of potential in making weird builds, weird character. You can go all over the places. You can use the skill from any classes. You can take the passive skill from basically any area, the massive skill tree. So if you try to complicate things too much, especially in the beginning, where maybe you don't have the gear, you don't have the other resources to enable that weird, that wonky interaction, those kind of thing, just try to keep it simple, stay close, stay true to the identity of the class, and you should have a stronger character in general, right? If you understand the game well, for some reason, then please go ahead. But we all are kind of new here, so try not to cook too hard. I am, someone who often try to cook too hard, and the result might not all the time be all that good. So keep it simple, right? And do not mind, some people might be very fast. They might have a lot of time, so they might be, ahead of you. In PoE2, I'm not sure if they still have the same thing as in PoE1, where if someone who is the first who enter a zone, there will be an announcement in the chat, so everyone knows that. For example, if someone is the first person to reach level 100, for example, in hardcore or in softcore, there will also be the announcement in the chat. So if you look at it, just don't mind it. There are some people who are crazy good in the game and who are crazy experienced in the game as well. They might even have, early access, in a sense they do play the game before in alpha test. For example, I do know some people have access to that. That will be a very limited amount of people, and they can be very competitive. They want to, go for the ladder, go for the ranking, those kind of thing. If you're a new player, do not worry about those. Most of us never even bother to look at it anyway. So, hey, play at your own pace, all right? Don't get discouraged if you see someone progress much faster than you. Next, this one is going to be, I think this one is going to be very helpful for a lot of people, even the like experienced. And this is, first of all, I want to have a disclaimer here. This is like completely my point of view and also my opinion on all the Ascendancy classes here, but you should choose the Ascendancy classes as followed. So there are 6 characters in the early access for now. From the news that I have heard from Jonathan Roja in the Tavern Talk podcast, he said that during the period of the early access, they are going to add new classes. They are going to finish and add the Druid and the Huntress at the very least. Probably there will be more. That is the word from the game director, not mine, so you probably can believe it. Anyway, for the current classes that is available, we have the Sorceress. The Sorceress have the Chronomage and the Stormweaver. In my opinion, the Stormweaver as a class looks like just more straightforward. Easier to play, more straightforward, and if you are new or just in general in the beginning of the game, the Stormweaver is going to be much easier to build around. It's going to be easier to be strong, basically. And the Chronomage is a little bit more tricky to get going. Obviously, hey, you can make anything work. But just comparatively, as a sorceress, I think the Stormweaver is just more straightforward, easier. The same thing for the Witch. The Infernalist is going to be miles easier than the Blood Mage. The Blood Mage, from all the things that we have seen, at least not all the Ascendancy nodes, but the already revealed one, I can safely say that the Blood Mage is probably going to be very good with a lot of gear, where you can have proper scaling, proper life stacking, those kind of stuff. Then that is going to be like the end game. And in PoE, you can respec, at least in PoE1, you could respec from, if you are a Witch, you can always respec and choose another Ascendancy, for example. If you are an Infernalist, you can just respec and become a Blood Mage. I do believe it's still the same case in POE2. There's no reason for them to actually remove that option. So yeah, just start out with the stronger class. In this case, the Infernalist, I think, is kind of insane for just early progression, because if you have the Ascendancy point, the first one, if you get the Hellhound, that is a very, very strong minion from what it looks like. It is basically a Guardian Ascendant warrior or something. I for some reason I forgot the name for now, but it is the big, beefy, take damage for you, just burn everything around to death for you, basically. So yeah, it is very strong, very, very, very strong. Right? For warrior, this is actually the closest, I think. The Titan, in my opinion, are more straightforward. You just slam, and especially one, I think one very nice skill that you are going to feel very good while playing as the Titan as the warrior is Stampede. Stampede is considered a slam skill, and it is a skill that you just run in a straight line and just damage everything on the way. Why is it good for the Titan? Because it works very well with the Aftershock Ascendancy point. So you basically have a lot of explosion going all around the path that you just walk through, and basically everything that are taunted or are following you will just get destroyed by those Aftershock. And that is going to be feeling pretty good while clearing through the game, I think. Obviously, you can use other things as well. That is just one example. The Warmonger, I think, is from all the things that we know, it's not really clear on which path is kind of like optimal. So I am a little bit struggle. I have a little bit of a struggle to see the identity of the Warbringer. It is a totem, but in the showcase, the totem kind of called a spirit that is an ape of some sort. It just thump on the chest and then just run away. Maybe it's a bug, but I don't know. Anyway, I think the Titan looks better, more straightforward. You can stun enemy, you can deal a lot of AoE damage, you can deal more damage to stun enemy. It just looks better. right? Next is the Mercenary. I think this is probably going to be one of, if not the strongest class, just flat out for starting the game. And for the mercenary, I think the better choice is going to be the Witch Hunter. The Witch Hunter is going to be very good for AoE clear. It's going to be very good for single target. It just basically have everything, and a lot of them are not even gear dependent. So this class is super powerful, just super powerful. Other than that, the Gemling Legionnaire is a little bit different. It gives you basically a bunch of quality on gems and a bunch of more power on gems, more gem slot, so you can use more skill, like in theory. However, you only have a certain amount of fingers, you only have a certain amount of buttons. And in order to set up a bunch of like optimal triggers with the limited amount of spirit that you can spend on meta gems, that is going to be very tricky to balance around and just require a little bit more in-depth knowledge into the game to have a proper build character as a Gemling Legionnaire. I think it is going to be insanely strong in the end game. Probably. We need to see how strong the quality of the gems are, pretty much. The Ranger, I think it's just a straight up bow character, and Deadeye is going to be superior. It gives you speed. It allows you to not worry about accuracy, which is very valuable early on. One less stat to worry about is very valuable early on when you don't have access to a lot of crazy gear. And then also it does have more projectiles to any spell. This is mentioned by GGG himself in the reveal, that one additional projectile in POE2 is way stronger than before because you have a lot of skills you can use, and then only one out of all those skills can be supported by multiple projectiles. So this extra projectile just is insane, right? You cannot go wrong with a bow character in POE, pretty much. And last one, Monk. I think the better one is going to be Invoker. It just gives you a bunch of damage. It is very straightforward. It has a button that when you press it, you becomes like probably like the last airbender or elemental bender, whichever element you choose. You basically go berserk. You are very strong. So Invoker is straightforward and seems to scale better early on. For the Chayula, the Chaos one is a little bit more tricky. I think the obvious choice for this class is going to be stacking intelligence, which is something that we cannot really do effectively early on. You need very good gear for that. And also POE2 is not very well figured out like POE1, so we might not even know all the proper way to build a stacking character yet. So yeah, this is going to be the longest tip out of everything here. Next one, respect the game policy. So if you're new, I would like to give a fair warning on GGG. So they are not afraid of banning people. We have seen in history content creator people who have like thousands of dollars of supporter pack in the game, and just also a lot of other people get banned because they do not respect the game policy. Most of them are due to real money trading. I'm not sure if it's even a forbidden word anymore, but yeah, there it is. I mentioned it. RMT. Don't RMT. This is not Diablo 4. In Diablo 4, I will just say flat out that Blizzard intentionally just ignore it for the sake of trying to get the game as popular as possible. But GGG, they have a completely different view on how to build the community and have their game out there. So be mindful of that, and also be nice. Don't be too toxic. There has been history of people getting banned permanently for being toxic and targeting the toxicity to someone else. So I don't want to mention it specifically, but just know that it exists. You can dig it up. It's all over the internet. Just a little bit old, right? Next one, be patient. It will be worth it. Why do I mention this one? Because this, after all, regardless of how impressive and how well it looks, it is still early access for PoE2. Early access means that the game is not finished, and GG doesn't really try to hide the fact that it is not finished and it is not like entirely well prepared. Jonathan Roger mentioned in the podcast with Gazi TV and Dark Microtransaction, the Tavern Talk earlier, that they are surprised by the amount, they are caught off guard by the amount of people who actually decided to buy the supporter pack to get the key to the early access. And yeah, they did not. They don't think the servers are well prepared enough to handle those amount of people logging in at the same time when the early access is launched. So they are trying to work on it, but there is no guarantee that it is going to be a very smooth launch, right? So they are aware of it, they are open about it, so we can be rest assured that they're working on it if there's anything goes wrong. And also, from a little bit of like insider information, so for the people who test out the alpha test, I think some of them might already speak publicly already recently. I think it is time that they can do it, but anyway, the game is not bug free at all, right? You can play it relatively well, however, there will be random bugs here and there. Not sure if they are going to be all fixed. I think the major one are already fixed already. However, there might still be things here and there. Just, hey, when you face it, try to work around it, or report it or something like that. But I think GGG have proved themselves to be very, very capable for the last decades, more than a decade already. So I myself have very strong belief in them that they will, just do it right. If you're new, if you don't have any experience with them, you don't have a trust on them already, yeah, give them time. All right. And this is last one. I believe join a community. Discord is probably the best place because it kind of is like convenient to communicate while still playing the game. So there will be a lot of people who are sharing experience or helping each others out in basically any PoE Discord community. I do have one very small, kind of dead right now because of the PoE1 league is already dead. There's only some people who are still talking with me there, but when PoE2 comes, I do believe that every single community, regardless of how small or how big it is, around PoE is going to be on fire, right? So just try to join one. If you want, you can join mine. I'll leave the link in the description. We are always welcoming new people to the community, and always are ready to help anytime, really. So don't hesitate. And this is a bonus. Kiss your graphic card goodbye. From everything that we have experienced on PoE1, it is going to get a little bit crazy later on with, a lot of juiced mechanic on maps, on endgame system. Maybe in the campaign there should not be something crazy going on, but later, if you spend a little bit of time in the game, if you're hooked, if you get more deeper into the end game, there might be a chance that your computer might just be on fire. Your graphic card might just burn to ashes. Well, I warned you, all right? So, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you will have a wonderful experience with PoE2. The game is the early access actually for the game is going to be released in 11 days from this moment that I record the video. So I'll see you then. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll leave the link in the description to the video where I go more in depth into all the classes and have a little bit of an analysis for every single class. Why I think they are good, why I think they are not as good early on, or things like that. Check it out, right? So yeah, until next time, peace.